Hey y'all, and welcome to Politibrawl. My name is Brian, and Byron Donalds takes an absolute wrecking ball to these know-nothing protesters and makes them completely rethink how they actually want to vote on the issues. Let's dive in.
To agree as a member, hang on, I'm sorry, ma'am, but as a member of Congress, because I was just in D.C. on Monday for Trans-State Visibility, and I would like you, as a member of Congress, to rise up and support LGBTQ plus youth and stop this fucking insane attack on our children who know who they are.
Number one,
no. Of course you're not, because you're a fascist. You're a trace. You're a race traitor and you're a fascist.
And I asked you a question. You said you wanted me to. I said I don't agree. And then you start yelling at me. You call me a fascist. You call me a race traitor. And you want me to agree with you? What are you talking about, ma'am? I'm a constitutionalist. Ma'am, I'm a constitutionalist. I believe in freedom and liberty for everybody. I believe in the U.S. Constitution. I believe in everybody's freedoms and rights. But if I don't agree, hold on. But when I don't agree with you, then all of a sudden I'm a fascist. That's what's wrong. If all you want to do is yell and scream and curse when I don't agree with you, I'm sorry, ma'am. You are now in the 20% of America.
You don't need to worry because you will never get my vote, and you don't live here.
I'm gonna be your governor. Trust
No,
me.
you're not.
No,
you're not.
Oh, yes, I am. Here's my question for you. Do you acknowledge the impact that Republicans had during the Civil Rights Movement? Do you acknowledge it?
I acknowledge the parties flipped. People moved. There was a migration of people between the parties.
Do you acknowledge that Robert Byrd, who was the Dean of the Senate, Robert Byrd, who was a lawyer for the Klan, never changed parties, stayed a Democrat to the day he died? Do you acknowledge that?
In racially homogenous districts, they like social welfare programs, they like democratic ideas, but they also are racist as hell sometimes.
Do you acknowledge that the federal judge in Montgomery, Alabama was a Republican, appointed by a Republican, and that was the judge that overrode the laws around the
I know we got a lot of Democrats in sheep's clothing. I know we got a lot of Democrats in sheep's clothing, and they're going to get weeded out soon.
I'm not talking about Democrats. I'm talking about what Republicans did in the Civil Rights era.
We got rhinos. We got dinos and we got rhinos.
Can I ask you the last question? Which party actually supported the KKK?
I'm going to come to your district and register a lot of poor people. I'm going to register them. I'm going to get the felons that have had their voting rights taken away that don't even know they can vote still now. I worked on felons' voting rights in Florida 7 years ago.
You ready? You ready for this one?
I'm going to come to your district and I'm going to register
one?
so many people. I have nothing but time.
Do you remember the amendment about restoration of voting rights? You ready? I endorsed it. I supported it.
Thank you for that.
I did that because when you pay your debt to society, you get to come back and be an American. I believe that.
Yo, hold up for just a brief moment here. You mean to tell me that a lawyer who is going to go out into Byron Donalds' district and enlist the help of a whole bunch of felons who have actually had their voting rights restored, and you're going to get them to vote Democrat? Oh, bless your heart. These people are a special kind of stupid, aren't they? First off, they are protesting right in front of a Tesla dealership, which, by the way, having electric vehicles about 4 years ago wasn't just a status symbol. It was a symbol that, oh, I'm a Democrat helping the planet. I'm better than you. Yeah, just a few years and the whole paradigm has entirely shifted. Ain't it great to be an American, ladies and gentlemen? And let's talk about this first protester. And trust me, we'll get to the lawyer in just a moment. By the way, thank you to Benny. I'm 99% sure that's Benny Johnson out there helping out Byron Donalds. There's another individual in there with a very iconic beard. I wish I could put the name on this dude right now. But of course, Lord Byron, that's what I like to call him, Byron Donalds, is absolutely mopping the floor with these know-nothing Democrats who are smart enough to know that things aren't right in our federal government. They are smart enough to understand that something is going wrong. They are smart enough to have a value set, a moral set, but they're not smart enough to understand the origins of their own morality. They're not smart enough to understand where the Democrat Party got its origin, and they're not smart enough to understand basic political structures here. Okay, so let's start off with the first person that probably needs to go on Jenny Craig. At the same time, she's holding up a sign that says fascist. Okay, honey. A fascist is someone who wants to increase the power of the federal government, and again, I've said this on this channel before, this is the definition of a fascist. Everything inside of the state, nothing outside of the state. Okay? That is a fascist in its nutshell. It was an outgrowth of the Marxist ideals and the Hegelian idealistic philosophy that maybe the state needs to be increased in order to combat the problems of other nations having to deal with you improperly. And then they thought the idea that having private property is a good idea compared to the Marxists who wanted to completely ban private property. Never forget that the largest employer in the state of let's see, the naughty mustache man. No, not me. Remember, I can't grow hair here. I am not the same as the naughty mustache man, okay? But in brown shirt Germany, for lack of a better phrase, the largest employer was their federal government, which was the occupation force of the 1930s and 40s Germany, okay? I don't think Trump fits that definition. These people are taking European ideas and ideals and then trying to implement them in the United States where it doesn't work. Okay? It does not work to put European nationalism inside of the United States. It doesn't work. You know what also doesn't work? The whole idea of the narrative of the second Democrat here, because already the fascist in the first part of the video, we've dealt with her. We've got to deal with this lawyer, on the other hand, who doesn't understand that Byron Donalds has actually tried to get felons the ability to vote in Florida, which, by the way, the whole Florida man narrative is based on the fact that they allow pictures of people who have been thrown in jail. Not many states do that, and so that's where the Florida man meme comes from. And this lawyer doesn't understand that, doesn't fight against that, and doesn't bother to deal with people's actual rights and abilities. Instead, he's talking about trying to remove Byron Donalds from office, and it's because this dude is a dyed-in-the-wool Marxist. This dude does not understand what the law actually means. This dude probably, if he is a lawyer, needs to be disbarred. All right, it's that simple. We need to disbar people like this. We need to disbar these activist lawyers and these activist judges because that's what they ultimately become. And we need to remove them from society and get them flipping burgers because these people will flaunt the law. These people don't understand the law. They don't even understand basic history. The whole narrative of the GOP and the Democrats flipped back in the 60s is a lie. All right? And I'm going to unpack that in the most brief terms that I possibly can here. The Republican Party was based on the ideas of promoting more business values, okay? They're the party of business. The Democrat Party has been the party of the little guy. And I'm using air quotes only to emphasize the fact that, well, the little guy back in the 1800s was the human farmer. And then in the 1850s and onwards, it became the factory worker. And then from the 1950s and onwards, it was minority groups in America. And they've done a poor job of representing them ever since the civil rights legislation passed. Let's be honest, the parties have never flipped. This dude doesn't understand history, he doesn't fully know why he's out here, and he's a lawyer, or at least so he claims. If that's the case, Florida, disbar this man. Okay? This man should not be practicing law. This man should not be out there protesting at a Tesla dealership that he was probably in favor for 3-4 years ago. These people are mental head cases that make the arguments for making nunneries great again and also make the argument for making mental institutions great again. We need to get on this problem because liberals have lost their minds. These people think that Democrats aren't far left enough, even though they've been catering to the liberal left quadrant of the political compass, and they won't stop in their rhetoric. They won't stop. This is the tip of the iceberg. Trust me, it gets way worse. So thank you, Byron Donalds, for trying to talk sense into these people. Thank you, Benny Johnson, for bringing this to light. At least I'm 99% sure that's Benny Johnson. Please let me know who this bearded dude is, because I've seen him a couple of times before, but I can't put a name on him. But these guys are trying to speak truth to morons, for lack of a better phrase, and unfortunately, at a certain point, you got to realize you're just talking with a brick wall. So I thank you. So I'm very thankful for these guys trying to speak truth to these people, but you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Folks, my name is Brian. Hope you enjoyed that segment here on Politibrawl. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch you on the next one. Until then, y'all have a good one.